the Michael Jordan documentary, The Last Dance, ended. Now, we're not going to get into like a recap. I feel like every other sports podcast has done that.
Mhm.
So you don't need to hear a recap from us. But I will, let's talk about some other documentaries that we'd like to see. Like in this kind of same vein, like a 10-part, like something in sports that like you just want to know the inside amounts. Because the
Yeah.
stuff that we learned in this documentary were thrilling. Like it
Yeah.
just drew me in. And I didn't like at first how they're gonna draw it out over 5 weeks. And then but they got me, like the second I stopped watching, I was like, oh, I can't wait for next week.
Mhm.
Like I'm so psyched.
Honestly,
And then I'll
that's
watch
the
it right
way to
away.
go. That's the way to go, man. Like you got to draw it out. And
Mhm.
more shows are starting to do it. Go back to the old way. Like it's
Mhm.
like what, and it's if you want, especially when you have a social media kind of event around the release of your episode, you want time for people to kind of mull it over, right? And you can build the hype.
And they dominated social media.
Mhm.
So, you want to just get into some, like we kind of listed out a few here. Feel
Mhm.
free, Chris, to just, if you come off the dome with some, to
Yeah.
just yell them out. But like I kind of get a documentary about Magic Johnson, the shit that guy's done and went through in his life.
Yeah.
The NBA titles, like the Olympic gold,
Mhm.
like HIV positive,
Yeah.
retiring, unretiring, buying the Dodgers, working as executive for the Lakers, just straight up like quitting them in a press conference.
Mhm.
Like the amount of things that man's like, that documentary would be unreal.
It'd be unreal. And it's almost like Magic's sitting at home watching The Last Dance, and he's just like, no, my turn. At
Well,
the
and
end, like
in his interviews in The Last Dance too, like you see that
yeah,
his personality, like he would fit like a
he would own
documentary
that
like that.
stage. Yeah, that would be a great
Mhm.
documentary. Such an interesting life, such a like ups and downs, and he's just persevered through it all with a smile on his face. Yeah, great character.
And his like his diagnosis and everything really overshadows the fact that he's a top 5 basketball player of all time.
Yeah, he fantastic player,
Mhm.
interesting guy on and off the court. Yeah, that'd be a great documentary. What do you think of this one's off the dome? What do you think of a Tiger Woods
That would be
one?
so good.
That'd be so good, and get into like the scandal and all that, and have like because there's stuff. I mean, a lot of stuff was out in the open, but I'm sure there's more. There has to be more. Where there's smoke, there's fire. And Tiger being willing to kind of say, okay, you're gonna pump my tires on the legacy thing. I have to kind of be a little bit more candid about everything that went down in that, and kind of have it in a beginning, middle, end. That would be off the charts.
And you could do that in the MJ thing, where you kind of, the base storyline is around that last Masters win, where he came back, and then everything else about his life, that would be super interesting.
Oh, super interesting. Yeah, like such a and it'd be cool. Like a lot of these ones are stuff from like the interesting thing is like about this list. I mean, it's all pretty much for the most part influenced by our experience. Yeah, like we're young guys, right? And to see like that's why we're excited. We've been talking like, man, in 20 years, like this is why we made this list, because all the stuff that we got to experience as sports fans, now like they do a documentary like Last Dance on that, and we were there for that, but we don't know the full scoop, or we haven't heard it in a while, and just taking us down that nostalgia trip. That'd be something. So Tiger Woods be unreal.
Yeah, the next one I had the Heat Big Three. You kind of go forward from the LeBron decision, like I'm taking my talents to South Beach, all the way to their end where he makes his comeback to Cleveland, like everything in between. Because I'm sure you put that many, like as good of friends as especially like James and Wade were, and then you throw in Bosch, who's really good friends with them as well as Studs. But they're like, you can't just mash those personalities and talent together and just go smooth off the bat. The amount of stuff that would have been going on and everything, and the pressure that they were under. They were expected to, and they went to 4 straight finals, 1-2, but the pressure that they were under, that would be super interesting.
And like to not have that be the focus of the documentary, but also branch out, like the kind of the note you finish on is you say, okay, look at this era that started in basketball. And there's been eras where there's just been stacked teams before. That's not new in the NBA, but really the big three kind of led to like this arms race for teams to kind of build these like what they call super teams, right? So you see the Golden State Warriors. I'm not a huge basketball guy, but I don't think that the Golden State Warriors are who they are without kind of the Heat paving the way by saying we're going to bring three of some of the biggest names in basketball right now. We're going to put them on our team. And then like everybody has to compete with that. Everybody has to get a little bit better. And then you got these situations where there's like a few stacked teams in the NBA.
Yeah. And when LeBron James made that first decision, it was the first time in really any major sport in North America where it showed the players have the power, not the teams. The players can go and do what they want. And that's what happened. So LeBron James, when this move shifted the power to the players, and from then you see how like the Kevin Durant move, and just all these players like threatening things. You know what I mean? And it shows that they have the power. And as a fan base, like all of a sudden fans stop cheering for teams, they start cheering for players in the NBA.
Yeah.
No other league has that where you're gonna follow your fan, like the players. Sorry.
Yeah, and NBA, it's really been almost or not almost. It's been to the NBA's advantage. Like you look at the social media presence, you look at the hype factor. There's there's more people that are into the NBA than any other sport right now. I'd say, like in terms of
they become a global phenomenon.
Global, and it's like especially because if you live like in England or in like other parts of Europe or in Asia and stuff like China, you don't have like a connection to a local team. So it's a lot easier to follow these guys, and they almost become like superheroes. Like you're comparing like who's better, like the conversation about who's better. Like you have that stuff like, oh, this guy. Look at a sport like baseball. It's less of a conversation. Like the head-to-head comparisons, like maybe when Mike Trout and Bryce Harper were coming up together, and one was in the National League, the other one was in the American League. Like there was a little bit of that going on, but it really kind of fizzed out. Like I think MLB really tried to fall with guys like Mike Trout and Bryce Harper, and it really just fizzed out. And the
NBA too, like their stat lines are the easiest of probably of any sport to compare to each other.
That's true, because
that helps.
Everybody's almost pretty much doing the same thing, right? Like they're going.
And you're gonna put up numbers like no matter what. Like you're gonna if you're a star player and you're scoring like 20 plus points a game. Like you have elevated stats, like whatever you're doing, you have to do a lot of in basketball. That's just the nature of it. Or versus like a hockey game, you might not score a goal in a game, but it doesn't mean you didn't have an unreal game and still be a stud, or you are a stud. In football, you might not score a touchdown. You know, in football, like offensive linemen don't touch the ball all year, and then but they're absolute studs. So how are you gonna compare? Yeah. Right. Baseball, like stat lines, like if you're not a power hitter, you're not gonna have home runs versus so there's so many different things that kind of like help the NBA, and they're also just their marketing is the best.
Yeah, they and really like you can tie that back to the LeBron. I'm taking my talents to South Beach, right? So like a documentary to tie this back, because we're going off the rails a lot of this podcast in a good way. But to go back like to the documentary thing, a documentary breaking down that like dynamic and game-changing time in basketball, super interesting. And it's a lot. I'm sure LeBron James is sitting there watching The Last Dance and saying, oh, up in 20 years, give me 20 years and I'm going to have one better,
100%. His is like, there is one probably just in the bank.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. Like he's just going to be jumping on it. And it's not like going to be with Jordan, where Jordan took a while. He was kind of lukewarm to the idea, and it took him a while to coax him to do this. LeBron is just going to be ready to go. He's going to be,
and there's going to be so much more available too, because he played in the day and age where everything was videoed. Anyway.
Everybody's got a camera. Everything's videoed. For sure. Yeah.
And they knew, like, Michael Jordan came in the league and he was a stud right away, but there was it took a little while for him to become a godlike figure. LeBron James is a godlike figure in high school.
Yeah. Yeah.
So like, and there was the comparisons to Michael Jordan right away. So he's had a camera in his face. The amount of hours of footage would be unreal.
Yeah. No, this would be a great documentary.
So you want me to just run through some more on this list, and you tell me if you want to see them or not.
Yeah.
I feel like we're gonna run through a lot of yeses here. The Pats 2019 season, centered around the kind of drama with Brady leaving.
I think that would be good. I think there's a lot you can do with Patriots, obviously.
Oh,
And
you could do one any year for the last 20 years, but
yes,
especially last year.
last year, I think it'd be an interesting tone to a documentary. And it really, I think you start it with almost like that last game against the Titans in the rain. You were at that game, very sad. Then the move to Buccaneers kind of covered that, and then end it with him returning to Gillette Stadium with to retire his jersey. That would be a great kind of arc to that documentary. Yeah, for sure. I think Patriots are documentary worthy for sure. I'd be a fool to say otherwise.
Kobe's last season.
I think now, like the basketball stuff, like of course, like if you make one about LeBron James, if you make one about Michael Jordan, you got to make one about Kobe. I think that's a no-brainer, especially with the tragic way that it all ended. I think this one, obvious sell.
For sure. The Giants 2007 season where they ruined my Patriots' perfect season.
Well, I think this is a great story. I mean, the biggest thing is the first one of the few wild card teams to win a Super Bowl. 3 games on the road, tough games. I think like the Packers were in there. The Bucs, like a couple of really tough teams that season, like to go up against and win. And then the biggest, baddest, toughest one of them all, the Patriots. That's a huge story. I know it's a bit rough for you as a Pats fan, but I mean, that is like an unreal path, like a season that was kind of like I mean, the Giants, it was a pretty average season for the Giants. I think they were like 10-6 or something like that. Got second in the division, wild card, and then they just fought tooth and nail to get to that Super Bowl and to win that Super Bowl. Once they got to that Super Bowl, the momentum was all with them, and Eli Manning just shows up, and that would be an incredible story to watch, definitely. And I'm not just saying that as a Giants fan.
Astros cheating scandal. Like especially like kind of have one. I mean, this can't come out for years, but imagine years from now, something around the year that they won the title, where people are now comfortable to come out and say what really happened.
Yeah, no, that would be off the charts television, and it would be so like to get the inside scoop on the way this stuff works, the inner workings, who came up with the idea, how did it kind of become how did it go from one guy being like, hey, like we could get this edge, to the whole team, yes, let's cheat. You know what I mean? Like the whole team pretty much complicit in, yes, we are all going to make a conscious effort to cheat.
And some of the rumors of like, did AJ Hinch really like destroy multiple TVs to try and get them to stop? Like some of the wild stories that would come out, it would be incredible.
Yeah, no, it's unreal. And just such a one of the biggest MLB stories, other than sports being shut down, it was the biggest story in baseball for a long time. And it's a huge, I mean, implications in multiple seasons, World Series games, World Series championships, stat lines. It messes with the stat lines. If you really get down to how much did this affect things, like just huge implications to the scandal, and a lot of stories to tell that are untold as of right now. And the books, there's going to be books written about this. It's going to be off the charts where we're just going to learn more and more as the years go on.
The next one I got here is the 2013 Red Sox, the year of the Boston bombing, where they rallied and won the World Series. You start that documentary with Big Papi saying, "This is our fucking city." Yeah. And you end it with them winning the World Series for Boston. That would just be a really sentimental piece for Boston.
And it'd be a big, it would be good, big boost for Boston. And also it's an American story, right? Responding to the tragedy and just coming out on top. Like that sells across the nation. It's like highly emotional, that story. And everybody can remember where they were that day when they heard about what happened, and just the shock that you see watching everybody had videos of it. Just, it impacted the world really, what happened. And then to see the Boston Red Sox respond and say, like Big Papi, his speech, as you said, "This is our fucking city." So like inspiring, so exciting.
Yeah.
And just a great story to cover. Now, to go back, I was going to jump this in before that, to string from the Astros cheating scandal, to have like a documentary. I'm sure there's actually documentary, but have like a really well, like Last Dance style, like everybody, all the big names are in it, just of the steroid era, and just tell all, like, look, guys, a lot of you, maybe you're already in the Hall of Fame, maybe you're like, it's set that you're not getting in the Hall of Fame. Just talk to us. It's been a long time. We all know you did it. Tell us the stories, because those guys would be so interesting to hear from.
Yeah, and I think it would probably help the visuals in their brand awareness more to have something like that. If they come out and were honest, and I think you'd see it, like their side of it. I think that helps more than it hurts.
Because right now, like, it's not humanized, right? It's not like, it's just, oh, these guys cheated, what a bum, right? But if you see his lot, like you see like Barry Bonds sit down and just be like, hey, like, this is what I was going through, this is what I felt like I needed to do to make it. I had so much pressure to play well, like I wanted to be like, I didn't want to bag groceries for the rest of my life. This was the only other thing, playing baseball, and I wanted to do the best I could at it, and I made some bad choices.
Even though, like, because Bonds was probably a stud before he started doing it. Even though he just came out and was like, look at it. Like, I was good, but didn't feel like I wasn't good enough, and I just wanted to be the fucking best.
Yeah.
So I just started doing steroids. Like, that is one, like, you can watch that and be like, yeah, okay. Like, that I don't like it, but it makes sense. Versus like the not knowing.
Yeah, no, that's true.
And then like the last one here is the 72 Summit Series, Canada versus Russia.
Last one. What are you doing?
Would I miss a few?
Yeah, you missed a few. We got Conor McGregor, Khabib.
Yeah. That one. But I mean, that one too. I was thinking about it, and I was like, you gotta wait. Like, that's not something, I don't want to see a documentary on what's like, I want to see that, but there's more to that story still. Like, I want that, you know what I mean? Like, and so I do want to see it, but I need that to include the next chapter.
Like, some of these are in like 10-20 years that we see these.
Yeah, you gotta, but like the ones that we've talked about, like, this is on stuff that's already happened. Like, Conor and Khabib are going to have a second fight, and it needs to include that. And then I had like Conor, Nate Diaz. Likely that trilogy probably happens, so it needs to encompass all of that.
All right, next you had the 72 Summit Series, Canada versus Russia. Now, what do you?
That would just be to see like the communist from Russia stories, the Canadians going over there, them coming back, like just the legends that were part of that. That would just be, the stories would be unbelievable.
And yeah, it's not just a hockey documentary. You teach you about the Cold War and what life was like during that. And it's just crazy to think that two countries practically at war with each other were playing hockey against each other. You know, it's just unreal. The tension must have been in that room. The pressure on you, because the whole country's like counting on you to win, and it's about making a statement. And hockey's so personal to Canadians, it's so personal to Russians. They love their hockey in either country, or we love our hockey and they love their hockey over there. And it's just what a story there, you know.
The next one on here was the 86, I believe it was 86 Mets championship team. That would be a very hard one to tell your kids not to do drugs, because they would be like, well, they did an awful lot and won the World Series.
Yeah, you know, that is a wild, crazy team. Absolutely banana lands. Like, they're just nuts, partying hard. Like, nobody has partied and played baseball before, you know. And that like comeback in Game 6, late ball gets by Buckner's legs. Just like the luck that got them into that Game 7. And once they were in that Game 7, it was over. The momentum was with them. Great story.
The ins and outs of like how they got there in the behind the scenes would be some incredible stories.
There's some untold stories there that that are just off the charts, probably.
Yeah. So, and then the last one here, the real last one, my bad, Chris. Was the Tyson Fury's comeback story. And you could ride that all the way to like the draw with Wilder and then him beating Wilder. But the fact is, like, I mean, this guy, where he ballooned up. He was probably 100 pounds overweight, was depressed, suicidal, like he was the lineal heavyweight champion of the world. And he just fell into a deep depression. And the fact that he was able to come out of that and then beat arguably the best heavyweight at this time of Deontay Wilder, I mean, there's much debate whether it was Wilder or Joshua, and prove that, hey, like, this isn't going to keep me down. I come back, put my mind to it, and I still am the lineal heavyweight champion of the world. Man, like, that'd be a great story. And inspirational story.
And to end the documentary with him singing American Pie with that whole crowd, off the charts. Off the charts.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you don't even need to get someone to sing your intro music. You got Fury.
Yeah, you got Fury. He's singing with the crowd. Just, man, that was a great fight. That was so exciting. And that ending, so good. Yeah. Anyways, moving on from that.
You want to get into this week's version of the Phoenix Fan of the Week?
Yes, we do. Let's have Noah come on down. He's this guy. Somehow he won.
Noah, our total random process.
Yeah, our total random process. The guy that happens to be right there is our Phoenix Fan of the Week. So let's bring him on in for a sports hypothetical.